open interest. What the fuck going on, Krown? Wait a second. Whoops. Sorry about that. I do apologize. Should have made an announcement yesterday that we were going to update the open interest tickers, although I wasn't sure that the update was going to be pushed in time. But as you can see, the open interest is significantly different now. So with that said, there has been a major update with Krown trading application, and you can see that now the open interest is including many more exchanges, all of the top exchanges that are relevant to the cryptocurrency landscape right now for derivatives trading. So it's going to be much more thorough, but that means it is going to take on a different interpretation. So before we get in a little bit more of that, I do want to apologize for not giving in advance notice on that one. There's also been many other updates actually made in the Krown trading application, which we'll get into in just a second. But I should also say that on Discord, yes, I forgot to also follow up on this as well. I have closed my personal inbox, my direct messages. That is in order to focus more on the general community, as I felt like there was kind of just it was becoming a little bit more overwhelming in the sense that I wasn't able to focus on the greater community at whole, because I was just like spending too much time in personal conversations, which is cool, but it's better. I kind of had the realization that it's better to address more people than less people. So with that said, I have closed my Discord DMs. I do apologize if that's inconvenient or if it comes off as a little bit callous to some people out there, but it did have to be done for the greater good, and also for my mental health, to a lesser extent, I suppose. Anyways, I should go through a list of the changes that have been made on the Krown trading application right here. Let me just pull it up on my other screen. There we go. Okay, alrighty. So we added about a dozen new Bitcoin tickers. Like I said, you can see a good amount of them on the left-hand side over here, and it's going to include all the major changes. By the way, just as an aside, it was very enlightening to see the numbers coming through on this one, because Finex is just so irrelevant nowadays. I mean, Finex used to be, for anyone who wasn't around during 2017 and like early 2018, it was like the pinnacle of exchanges. Now it's like it doesn't even really matter. Of course, they have spot trading there as well, so a little bit different. But a few other changes have been made as well. So now let me just make sure that I'm reading this properly. Okay, so we added a new data tab to the crypto section, showing only 3 new charts for now: volume, open interest, and funny rate. So we'll actually be updating that in the next update, or in the next week's update as well. And you're going to see more futures contracts and more futures perpetual data. Also, we added an equity curve to the trading journal. So if you do have your API hooked up to your trading journal, that will be there for you as well, which hopefully that can help. And I think that's pretty much it. We are recording volume and open interest for every possible exchange now, so we're going to actually have our own data for that, which we're really, really happy about. But that does mean that it's going to take some time to dig into and then reassess. So right now, I don't really have a good idea actually of what's going on with the open interest as far as like what sort of aggregate values denote major changes in behavior. And it's going to be basically a little bit of a little bit of a documentation phase for myself. So I want to kind of back away from saying anything about it right now. I'm going to be looking at it with open eyes, and I don't want to say anything about it when it's pretty much fresh for myself. And I do apologize if that's an inconvenience for anyone out there, but it is for the better, because we do want more data, because in the end that's going to add up for a better user experience. Anyways, of course, all this is free. This is all provided for you by us. I think that's like Fubu or some shit, some sort of clothing company, which is very interesting. And you can take advantage of that whenever you want at the app.krowntrading.net website. Other than that, we see that all of the top end metrics are still pretty much steady here. We see Bitcoin dominance hanging around that 66% region. Crypto total market cap is more or less the same, and crypto fear and greed index is basically the same as well, still hanging out in the fearful zone, as Bitcoin looks to me like it's kind of trying to put in a little bit of a higher low. So yesterday I did say that Bitcoin was going to come back down to like low 9,000. I think we got that move, and now I think that is probably, well, as we're going to discuss, I think it's still very likely setting in a higher low. Although there is obviously counter reasonings to that, which we'll go over as well, because at the end of the day, it's not my opinion that matters. It's technical analysis that is, well, tradable at the end of the day. Like I always say, I would be broke as fuck AF if I traded my opinion, but that's why I trade technical analysis. Anyways, also other other than that, I might be on Twitch today. Actually, might be on Twitch today. Links in the description below. I just need to go to the store to get a few more materials to make sure that it's a nice, smooth experience, which it never will be because it's the first time using a new computer. But that also means I will be uploading to my new channel as well. If you're interested in gaming, especially strategy games like Total War, because that's the only one that I play, then definitely check out my new channel, Total Krown. If that's not interesting to you, definitely don't go check it out. It's all good. I'll leave a link in the description below. You never hear me say, make sure to like and subscribe and tickle the bell because you need to smash that like, you need to smash your face, you need to smash your dog, and then smash your fucking girlfriend in all the ways possible. No, just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do any of that. But on that new channel, I could use a few more friends there. So if you are interested in such things, definitely go check it out. It's again, Total Krown. It's a gaming channel, but again, if you're not interested in such things, don't feel obligated. Okay, cool. So let's get into the actual analysis itself right now. With all of that in the back of our mind's eye, looking at trading view right here on the daily, and this is Stamp, and still Bitcoin riding that yellow 21 exponential moving average. I mean, I stick with what I've been saying for a while now. I think that is setting in a higher low here. I have no reason not to believe that it's not a higher low until we actually break structure, which would be below the last prior low, which is 8600-ish region. Not only that, but that would be around presumably where the green 55 exponential moving average is gonna be, and well, I mean pretty much right now, but definitely over this next day or two, as we will see price action start to really move from this region. So to me, that is very, very important. The reason being because that is what's essentially going to be bolstering up this golden cross that we have on the daily between exponential moving averages 55 and 200. The most, and I put a lot more weight on that than especially simples, which a lot of people are talking about right now. But as long as we're above there, it'll naturally gain more and more divergence away from each other, meaning the green 55 and the purple 200. And you intuitively know that means that trend is strengthening to the upside. And if it's strengthening, what does that essentially imply at the base of it? Like, what's the psychology behind it? It's basically the bots and algos are supporting it. They're on the buy side, and that's really who I want to be watching as far as the bigger accounts go. So as long as we're above that level, not only do we have higher lows and an overall market structure is in the upwards favor, but also from a moving average perspective as well, it looks pretty damn good. And that is also mediated between the 2-day, which has a golden cross going on right and over here, then tested the 21 more recently, and where is that 21 now? It's actually even at 8700-ish region, and the 200 simple is at 86, so right around that last prior low. And more importantly, or just as important as we are as we're still on this time frame right here, that white 200 simple moving average, that has been damn good indication of where Bitcoin is on the macro scale. As long as Bitcoin's above it, generally good. As long as it has a positive slope, very good, especially if Bitcoin's above it and it has a positive slope, and vice versa for the downside. You see the whole thing going back on over here from 2012 and then switches around in 2014. There you go. Same thing back in 2015, keeping you long all the way through 2017, 2018. And then once again to the downside right and over here, and then flips around right and over here. And this is, of course, a macro look. It's not, like time it the perfect way, but it does give a look into the macro momentum here, which I do think that as long as we are above the 200 simple, it is naturally going to be a more long-term, or I'd rather err to the upside in the long term. And I do have to be careful here because I feel like the sentiments in this market right now are very difficult to read because we all get stuck in our own echo chambers, right? And we are certainly in one in this own community ourselves. And I don't really have a good read on whether the general community in cryptocurrency or just the general sentiments are bearish or bullish. Obviously, if we go back to the Krown trading application, it would suggest bearish. And this, to be fair, has been accurate, especially over the last over this last 2 to 3 month rally. Incredibly accurate. This was the one thing that was really in the back of my mind saying, hey, Krown, it's not a time to be bearish. It's time to be it's a time to be looking at this as climbing the wall of worry, which I did join that party above high 7,000s a little bit. Could have done it earlier, but this one was the one big indication of the efficacy of this rally. And of course, on the 2-day, we are also in the process of setting in a higher low as well. How will Bitcoin hold this higher low? Well, as long as we are essentially above the 200 simple and 21 exponential moving average, which both of of those are starting to diverge away from each other, as well as the golden cross here too. I look at that as overall good. If we can get this next 2-day closure, not even a closure, but just above the last 2-day dildo high, I'm guessing that we're going to have some hidden bullish divergence here to be play out. Actually, no, it's not present on the 2-day, but it is, I believe, on the daily. Yes, indeed, it is on the daily. We do have lower lows on RSI and potentially higher lows on price action. If we take out yesterday's high at 93.16, I do believe that we will see continuation realistically to the top side of the range at about 9,800-ish region. That would set up Bitcoin for a big bad break. Very likely to the upside, and also look like a nice bullish reaccumulation formation as an ascending triangle. Of course, if we go back down to the lower term time frames, I don't want to make it sound like it's all, sunshines and butterflies and rainbows and bullshit like that. This ain't no Peter Pan pussy bullshit. But what it is is it's a bunch of red and green dildos. What it is. What it is just, at the end of the day, a game of supporting resistance right here. If Bitcoin does break below, especially this long-term support, which would destroy our higher low structure, again below about 8,600, even on a 4-hour closure, I do believe that Bitcoin the upside's done for a while, and we'd be coming down to the low $7,000 region very likely. And I think that at that point I'd want to come back and reassess. As you can see here, I've multiple places kind of plotted out for bounces along the way, of which 8,100 would be of particular interest, 7,500, and then 7,100 would be the next area. But I do believe that we would be heading down at the very least to 75 and probably 71 if that were to happen. But for right now, I don't really feel like it's warranted to be super bearish here, just because the trend is up on all time frames up to a weekly, but not including a weekly as it is. If the weekly can close anywhere above the last prior high, which was 10,150 on a closing basis, or even take out the wick of the prior high in early February of this year at 10,550 cents on stamp, then that would constitute a higher high, and we'd be in the process of creating an uptrend. Obviously, at some point, it would come back down, scare the shit out of everyone, and probably set in a higher low. But that would be a damn good indication that we're going to be heading up to about 11,500 and perhaps even beyond to the illustrious 16,000s and 20,000s after that. But that's essentially my disposition right now. As long as Bitcoin's above 8,600, I'm not really long-term bearish or even medium-term bearish. Can be short-term bearish here and there because that does offer up about a $600 range from where we are right now to that next level. But I don't have, I don't really, or we could actually just map it out like this, because this is a little bit more relevant to what we're doing right now. Something like this. But right now it's looking to me like Bitcoin wants to turn back up. Any sort of a move back above 93.20-ish region, our high yesterday, again, 93.10. And I do believe that we're going to see hidden bullish divergence or continuation divergence play out on the 12-hour and daily, which should be good enough to get us back to the 9,800-ish region, give or take about $50. And that would also be further enhanced and perhaps even further verified in a more direct way with any sort of a 2-hour dildo closure above this horizontal right here, the one that kind of pushed back on us yesterday about 93.20. I shouldn't say us. We are not Bitcoin. We are traders, or at least I'm guessing you're probably a trader if you're interested in this sort of content, as that's who it's intended for. If you're not, then hey, you're more than welcome to hang out, but understand that this is coming from the perspective of someone who's trading here, not a moon boy, not a June boy, not someone looking to long for $100 million, not someone who's looking to short to zero. It's neither here nor there, man. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit and tickle the bell. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. No disrespect to the people out there making money off of YouTube money. That's all well and good. It's an honest living, but you don't need to cheapen your message by doing that kind of stuff, I don't think. Anyways, that's a whole nother conversation for a different topic, and that's not what we're focused on here. For fuck's sakes, Krown, stop being I almost said the R word, but I meant it in the scientific sense. Anyways, so yes, that's what I'm looking at right here. To follow up on yesterday's price action, we did say that we were likely to push back at 9,300, back down to our base right around 9,050 to 9,000-ish region. We got that move, and now I think that momentum oscillators are probably setting up for, or let's see what they're setting up for, actually. We see 4-hour Stokes breaking the trend line right here that we had in yesterday, or at least very likely to break this trend line, which will be confirmed on the next tick, going to be heading up to the bullish control zone, it looks like. And momentum oscillators will stay to the upside on the 4-hour, by the way, as long as Bitcoin price action is above 91.34 spot 2. Looking at the 3-hour Stokes are actually technically down right now. And did we break that same trend line? Yes, we did break that same trend line. So I'd be looking for a bounce off this on the retest perhaps. And it will naturally stay to the upside as long as Bitcoin price action is above 92.42.5 essentially, which is kind of where we are right now. And as you can see, it's kind of battling with the white 200 simple on the same time frame. I do think that this is setting up for a move sooner rather than later is what it's looking like early this week, if not today, maybe. I really dislike saying more direct things like that. 2-hour Jewel looking good right here for a continuation signal. For the people asking about that, 2-hour Stokes looking okay as well, and they will remain to the upside as long as Bitcoin price action is above 91.75. And the hourly, I'm going to imagine, is going to be somewhere similar there. Yeah, 9200-ish region, and hourly Stokes are technically up right now, consolidating at a high level and looking like, usually when you see like a lot of winding up alongside a resistance, it is getting ready to break. It's kind of like the same thing as consolidating out of resistance or support. It's usually going to break in that direction, and this looks like it's kind of rounding itself off here. So yeah, I do think that is going to probably pop back up to 9,300, and if we do see even a tick above yesterday's high, I think would probably be good enough at least for extension to 9,500. But more reasonably, I do think that it would get extension to the top side of the range. I mean, we're going to play out 12-hour and daily hidden bullish divergence here. Let me just double check on this one. Yeah, 12-hour is definitely in there, and daily is certainly in there as well. So yes, these are formidable time frames here, and it looks like reaccumulation on the 21 to me on a higher low. It's trying to formulate some sort of an ascending triangle. So bulls have trend all the way up to a weekly. They have formations, very likely, and momentum also is going to be turning their direction as well, as long as Bitcoin price action is maintaining above, especially let's call it like 9150 to 9200ish region. It's within striking distance. So I'm not bearish here until those sorts of things happen, where we at the very least create a lower low on the 12-hour and daily below 8600. That would obviously set into motion a plethora of events that would probably propel us down to $7,000 region, maybe even lower than that over time. But until that happens, I'm looking at this as an opportunity realistically. Now, for full disclosure, I'm actually not long. I'm not short. I'm positionless right now, but I will be looking to start a position perhaps later tonight, depending upon where these closures come in. So for reference right now, keep in mind that CMEs did close on Friday at 91.75. So I don't think that Bitcoin's going to really be moving maybe before that, or at least probably Bitcoin stays in this range until CMEs open later today at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. So with regards to that, would I get too excited for like the short term right now? Maybe not, but keep that in mind, because that actually is where a lot of those momentum oscillators remain to the upside. So that is setting up for potentially a nice, some nice price action around the time that CMEs open later today. So I would keep an eye on that. Other than that, let's see, what else do I want to look at? Historical volatility percentile on the 4-hour is incredibly low. It is literally a fucking snake eyes right now. And we have been consolidating, we have been contracting ever since 10th of May, with an apex coming in early June, which suggests a resolution point, statistically speaking, very likely this week, later this week, extremely likely. I do think that we're probably going to pop back up to test this trend line again, but with the moving average on this very aggressively to the downside, I don't think that we're entering into the big expansion phase yet. But this is matching up with with structure as well. If you are looking at this as an ascending triangle, it essentially has the same apex coming in a little bit later in June, but that's the value of using derivatives of price action, because they're going to tell you naturally faster, and a resolution point basically later this week is what it's looking like. A little bit less than a week, like between now and probably Friday is where I'd be thinking towards, and that should be with the read on the 4-hour historical volatility percentile right here, that should be good enough to break one of the big areas. So one of the big areas means either above 10,000 or 9,800 on a daily closure, or below 8,600. Both of those areas have massive potential to perpetuate massive price action, both to the upside and the downside. For the downside, we already kind of covered that one up. Essentially, target would be down to like 7,100 and maybe beyond after that. I'd want to see it in real time. To the upside, it's a lot more interesting just because the upside's a lot more less limited, I suppose. And any sort of a daily total closure above 9,800. And yes, I do think that we would pop back up and test around our prior high in early February at about 10.5. That's where the higher term timeframes can really start to take over on not the macro scale, but the higher term timeframe scale, as any sort of a weekly close above, again, 10,150 or for just a move above the last prior high at 10,500, and I would look for extension all the way up to the 11,500-ish region, the area that has been fraught with just absolute peril for the last couple of years, going all the way back to 2018 January before this massive 50% meltdown from 11.5. A pair of rejections right here a month later in February, then again a year later in July 2019, then again a month later after that in August. So that would be the big bad area for the macro. Above there, it's a complete difference in behavior as far as Bitcoin goes, as far as price action goes, the interpretation of it. I'm just not interested in anything resembling a long-term short after that. I'm just interested in basically longs. Yes, there is going to be ebbs and flows in the market. It's not going to go up to like a fucking rocket, like all these goddamn YouTube thumbnails and shit that you're going to see. But I do think that, you're going to see, if you think this is volatile right here, I mean, it's just going to get several degrees more above this level. You can see from the volume profile, especially, there's very little doing above this region. And realistically, like I said, you can talk about 16,000, 20,000. I would honestly be looking for new highs on top of that, within like a year and a half or something like that. If that were to happen, again, that's all coming along the back that 11,500 is closed above on a weekly scale. If that can happen, and there's been again several fake outs here, so don't get too excited just yet. And also it would be I think one of the last remaining gaps on CME futures. I think there's maybe one more down here as well. Yeah, at about 3,500. Gaps don't always get filled, but they do typically get filled. Professional gaps do typically get filled still, but it usually takes longer. Anyways, that's a whole nother concept, maybe for a bonus video in the TA program, which should probably get going on that. Anyways, 11.5 gap right here is still very much present. So if Bitcoin did head up to 11,500, I would be looking for a big bad pullback from that region before anything else, and then maybe sets it up for another nice move. While we are kind of looking at these lower term time frames, once again, I guess we weren't really, but let's go back to a 12-hour maybe. If this is going to be operating as an ascending triangle, now let's kind of get a little bit more Jedi with it. If this is going to be operating as an ascending triangle, and we actually do resolve to the upside, which would be had by at least a daily total closure above 9,800 or a 4-hour closure above 10,000, either one of those would do it for me, then this would actually point us, this would imply a target actually above our last prior high on a weekly schedule. It would actually imply it all the way to 11,000, and I do trust levels more than measure moves, on something like this. So with that implied move, if Bitcoin were to even just get past 10.5, I would look for that next extension to 11.5 overall, and that would be the macro area where things can really change from that perspective. So right here, it's gonna have a chance. We could even kind of put in an area like, wait, stop, god damn it, I have to get used to this one too. TradingView keeps on updating their shit, which is great, but it's also a little bit frustrating for someone like me that I'm like an old dog that can't learn new tricks, but I'm not even that. I'm not even old, even though I got these gray hairs all over my ball sack and my chinny chin and my hair as well. It's actually, you can't really see the cameras. Can you see it? Maybe not so much. Well, thank you, camera. I appreciate that for not making me look too much like shit. Then again, spaghetti hair in full force, so better call myself out before someone else does. All right, so what else do we want to talk about while we're here? Could we make the same measure move to the downside? Not really. Not really, but presumably it would suggest at the very least a move back down to the 200 simple, which I would agree with. But at that point, we'd have a downtrend, so fair enough. Alrighty, I'm going to get rid of, we can leave that in there for now. It doesn't really matter. What else do we want to look at while we're here? Let's look at the 2-day and 3-day. I'm curious let's actually look at the 12-hour and daily and look at the reverse Stochastic indicator crosses for this. Okay, so this is very interesting to me as well. 12-hour reverse Stochastic indicator cross shows momentum comes back up to the upside, and we will cross these babies back up to the upside, which, by the way, it looks to me like it's kind of on that same support. Oh, what's this? That same support that we had plotted out for the last, how far does it go back? Late February, bouncing off that area. And guess what? That will naturally cross the upside with any sort of a 12-hour closure in the next, 5 hours or some 6 hours, actually, in 12 minutes, above 9,100, essentially. So, again, we're seeing the short-term timeframes and the higher-term timeframes line up with each other as far as momentum goes. So we're going to have momentum potentially plus formation plus trend plus structure, and realistically I do think that if Bitcoin closes the next 12 hour above 9,100, we very likely will see this area taken out, and then we'll very likely see another test back up to like 9,800-ish region, give or take. Whenever I go into Twitter, I see a lot of people that are bullish and I see a lot of people that are bearish. So I want to step away from saying everyone's bullish, so I'm bearish, or everyone's bearish, everyone wants to sell, so I'm bullish, I'm the only one. It's like, yeah, you're the only one in a world market. Yeah, great fucking thinking there. World market, you're the only one. Wow, crazy. It's like, go fuck yourself, man. How egotistical do you have to be to even say something like that? Everyone's bearish, so I'm bullish. Like, go fuck yourself. Do you even know everyone? No, you don't. No one knows everyone. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's just you are a very interesting person who always wants to go against the grain. I'm obviously like speaking to a singular person right now. It's like just equally as dumb. All right, I'll stay off that. I will go back and reference the tweet that I referenced yesterday. Yelling at people that you'll never meet in real life is a fucking mental disorder. And you know what? That is the goddamn honest truth. And I just did it. So here we go. I should put me in the fucking mental institute right now. But yeah, looking at the 12 hour, we will naturally push momentum back up to the upside with any sort of a closure back above 9,100. So that looks good to me as well. For the daily, by contrast, is very interesting here because that same level for turning momentum back up to the upside would be about a little bit below 9,700, as you can see. And right now we are kind of seeing this nosedive a little bit. We do have this trend line coming in here very aggressively, which Stokes will come down and test. Looks like on this next tick very likely. So if it is going to bounce, it does bounce from there, and that's also right at the edge of the bullish control zone. That would also kind of make sense. And if Bitcoin could get back above 9,700 or even just 9,800, that would be momentum also is turning back up, plus trend, plus structure, plus what else do we have? I forget. Plus levels, more importantly. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's like the most important thing to me to begin with. And that would look good for a break to the upside at the very least 10.5, probably 11,500 after that, if I had to guess. Not going to all be in the same move, but over time. Yes, I do know that there is a presumed sell signal on the daily jewel right here. I just don't really put much weight on a jewel signal that's not present on CMEs, and CMEs is more in a bouncy area, both from a fib and an oscillator perspective. So I don't look at it as the same thing. What do we have on the 3-day? Do we even want to look at this right now? 3-day momentum oscillators will turn back up with any sort of a closure. Is it today? No, it's actually on Tuesday, so it's still a little bit further away. But with any sort of a closure above 91.36, so not really relevant right now. But if it were to happen in the next couple of days, and yes, we'll probably know before that, to be fair. So again, levels here are just, I think, the easiest thing to follow right now. To each their own, of course. We could both use, I do think 8,600 is kind of like the line in the sand. But if I did want to be a little bit more aggressive with the way that I kind of take these signals, I would be using 9,000 actually even. As long as there's no 4-hour closures below 9,000, I still look at this as just a higher low. If 9,000 does get closed below in a 4-hour, I would look for a test down to 8,600. If 8,600 gets closed below, or even if it just gets tested, I think the bull party would be over for a little bit of time, and we'll probably see another $1,500 move to the downside overall, and then we'll come back and reassess. Of course, as we said yesterday, the general markets look more or less strong. I'm still bullish on traditional markets here, so I think that bodes well for Bitcoin. And so we can now go look at the Genesis chart because I don't really have too much else to talk about here. Don't even know how long I've been recording because my recording software is maxing up right now. Anyways, looking at this, let's go look at the matrix chart. Okay, all right. What do we have here? Bitcoin hanging around the 0.5. I mean, this is from the last market cycle, so how relevant is it to what we're looking at right now? We see the 382 at 11.5, good. 9.5 at the 0.5, which we're actually kind of above right now. Very interesting. I don't know. Is there anything of particular interest here that I'm not getting? I don't think that I should speak about this right now. It's too experimental. It's just not right. It's just not right. I wouldn't trade off something like that. Like I know people like that kind of shit because, you know, you can talk about targets to like $200,000 and targets all the way down to like $1,000, but it's just not fucking real and not helpful for an actual trader. I think I'll step away from that bullshit so that we no longer attract those people in its community. There we go. Sorry, this community we accept everyone, but we accept you only if you adopt the perspective of a trader. No, just kidding. But just always understand that, man. I really want to get away from like the moon boy, doom boy type bullshit, because that's just that's a fucking cancer. If you are a trader, that's just a fucking cancer is what it is. You've joined a gang, sir. You've joined a gang. If you consider yourself a bull or a bear, you've joined a fucking gang is what you've done. Okay, let's go take a look at Bitcoin dominance, as I will be closing for the weekly today. What do we have here? Bouncing off the 21 like we said yesterday. I'm still bullish on this one overall. Structure is still a descending brawny wedge, which typically breaks up to the upside. But do we have another move back down to 65.5% first and alts benefit a little bit versus Satoshis before the next potential big move to the upside? I don't know on this one. I don't feel like I have a good read. We can go look at a beautiful Cardano right here. Oh, Cardano, you beautiful bitch, you. If I do see a weekly close above 620 on Cardano, I actually would be looking for that. I would be looking for extension back up to 690, 700 Satoshis, which at that level actually is a pretty big move. And that would probably bring it up to that, or sorry, down to that 65.5% that we just looked at. But, you know, I'm not really bullish on this until it breaks out of this accumulation zone right here. If this is going to be accumulation, this would be kind of the governor on it right around 700-ish Satoshis. So as long as it's below there, it's still just a dead heartbeat of a chart. I mean, this is fucking cryptocurrency at its finest, man. It's like almost every chart looks like that. It's a dead fucking heartbeat is what it is. And it should be treated as a dead fucking heartbeat. Yes, are some going to survive and do absolutely phenomenally long term? Yeah, totally. Link probably, we can go look at one right now. Maybe Link is going to be that one. Still looking decent here. Still looking decent. I mean, it's been so resilient. It's hard not to think that it's going to pop back up to $4.5 or $5. You know, the trend is your friend, and the trend is up. But some like Cardano that just goes straight to the floor, as with most altcoins, hard thing to love, except for short term ups and downs, or sorry, ups there, which it's not even liquid enough to trade. I do not understand the obsession. The other cancerous obsession with trading altcoins, when Bitcoin has more liquidity and leverage to make up for it, I just don't see the value in trading altcoins. I'll never understand that. Perhaps you can help me to understand there, but why trade something that's more illiquid when you can get the same sort of when you can get more liquidity with the same sort of leverage, if that's what you're after. If you're going to say Krown, but the moves are bigger there. But the moves are big. The people who play Bitcoin, the train's left. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're a fucking trader. It doesn't matter. Butyrol looks like absolute shit versus Satoshis as well. Just lower highs. I wouldn't be bullish on this thing long term as long as it's below like 278. It looks like absolute dog shit. I don't really want to speak too much on that either. Let's go look at Butyrol spot. Again, going to follow whatever Bitcoin does. Doesn't look, I mean, you know, looks like it's putting a higher low here. Looks like it wants to pop back up to 214, 215. And then if it can close above there on today's daily dildo, I'd be looking for extension to 250 and probably beyond. It's going to follow whatever Bitcoin does. Same thing with Litecoin. I mean, its chart on its own looks absolute garbage. Just aids on a chart, aids tier price action, even as a death cross on a weekly. But if Bitcoin moves up here, do I think it's going to go down when Bitcoin moves up? Probably not. Very unlikely, at least historically speaking. So back onto Bitcoin, let's go and look at our ranges here and match it up with the probabilities. And let's see. Okay, so again, the long-term areas, well, I'll say is 9,800 to the upside on a daily closure, 8,600 to the downside on a daily closure as well. Then we'll look at the shorter-term timeframes as well. But right now, this is the most relevant thing, I think, especially with this week of a potential breakout or breakdown. I think highly likely. Upside is actually more likely right here. Hold on, let's put this on current. Should be relatively low too, and let's do it for daily. Upside 8.17% to break above 9,800, which probably doesn't happen today, but is kind of within reason. Downside's a little bit more likely though, technically speaking, 8.44. Now let's change these around a little bit so where they're a little bit more relevant to the current price action. I'm going to use 93.50 to the upside, and I'm going to use 9,000 to the downside. Okay, so let's look at this, 93.50 and 9,000. Okay. So now when we look at this range, technically technically the upside is a little bit more likely from this region, 34.5% versus 34 even essentially. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about probabilities, I mean, this is more or less the same. So bulls and bears are equally are equal in demeanor right now, I guess. But I would say that due to structure, due to patterns, due to momentum oscillators, due to moving averages, due to trend, I would be more on the bullish side with that. So I think that kind of cuts it to myself. But again, the levels are very, very clear. And well, this just suggests that we're very likely to break out probably in this next, very likely in this next week, I do think. Let's look at it on a 12-hour. 12-hour going to show. What are you going to show? 12-hour, 29% to the upside, 26.5% to the downside. What about a 4-hour? Next one closing in 2 hours, by the way. 15.5% to the upside and 7.19% to the downside. But remember, this is only for the short term. If we break 9,000 to the downside, I would look for a test down to 8,600. Probably do end up, failing below that level long term and heading further south. But for the upside, 93.50 right here. Again, I do think at the very least it would probably put Bitcoin back up to 95, 95.50, and then extension a little bit over time towards the 98, 9,900-ish region. I do think. What else do we want to look? I think that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to talk about today. I think we got all the levels here. It's even kind of trying to put in a very small ascending triangle right here, it looks like, with accumulation along this trend line right here. I didn't really talk about this, but one of the reasons why I do think Bitcoin would come down to like low 7,000 is just based upon Fibonacci's and long-term trend lines here. This one being the end-all be-all down to March 13th lows at 4,400. So if Bitcoin were to break below 8,600, we also confirm a downturn with lower lows and lower highs. We also, from a Fibonacci perspective, are kind of in a little bit of a free fall down at least to the 382, which is also the 200 simple, and most likely to the 0.5 and 618, somewhere in between these guys, which is actually admittedly a little bit further south. So instead of like having a $7,100 target, I'd actually have to adjust that to about 68.50-ish region. And all these seem to line up very, very well here. So if we were to break this area, yes, I do think that Bitcoin would be coming down essentially to 7,000, give or take about $100. But I'm not really looking for that to happen right now. I actually think that it's kind of reaccumulated right here. And I think that the upside, or at least another test to the top side of the range, is going to set this up relatively well. So I think that that's a good place to shut off this video. Like I said, I'll be back on, I might be on Twitch today. We'll see how my trials and tribulations at the electrical store go. You never know what's going to happen, but if it can be done, I will do it. If not, then very likely tomorrow, or maybe even Elsa will do it as well. And yeah. I'd like to wish you well once again, wish you the best of the best and the happiest. Sorry for the scare at the beginning of this video or with the open interest. We're just doing our best over here, man, and I make mistakes all the time, so apologies for that. Take care, and until next time, yeah, that's it. I don't know what else to say.